2, Affirmative Action or the Freedom or the Fairness for Dummies Act. 3, reparations for non-slaves by non-slaveholders. 4, hate crime laws aimed at straight white males. Racial profiling laws aimed at straight white police. A United Nations tax or a world tax. Free prescription drugs not only for the elderly but also for AIDS patients. That's a big part of why Obamacare was passed, by the way, because of the AIDS lobby. You don't know that, and the pharmaceutical manufacturers. I said 8, they would delegitimize the Boy Scouts and they would call it the Fairness to Predators Act. This is the same thing as calling the new Spying Act as a Freedom Act. Delegitimize the Boy Scouts and call it the Fairness to Predators Act. Outlawing homeschooling and call it the Freedom from Learning Act. Arrest, ban, or rewrite the authentic Bible as a hate book. Complete elimination of borders with Mexico and call it the Fairness to Latinos Act. Approve partial birth abortion or infanticide and the sale of baby body parts and call it the Senior Citizen Life Extension Act. Give Geffen, Katzenberg, Matzenberg, and Spielberg increased license for their violence and pornography and call it the Freedom of Arts Act. Pass socialized medicine and a national health plan, call it the Freedom from Bad Behavior Act. Permit lawyers to sue everybody for everything at all times without any limitations, call it the No Limits on Lawsuits Act. Encourage mandatory suicide for sick seniors and call it the Saving Social Security Act. Eliminate the Electoral College and call it the One Dunce, One Vote Act. Finally, completely seize all guns and call it the Freedom from the Second Amendment Act. And once that's done, abolish our existing Constitution and rewrite it and call it the Freedom from Freedom Act. Not bad. I did my best. I tried. 2002. There's other stuff I haven't gotten to yet that I want to get to on this. I'm feeling better after 10 days of being sick. God. You know when you come out of a sickness, you come back stronger if it doesn't really knock you out? Suddenly everything is clearer, the sun, everything feels better. I noticed that Obama says that China's South China Sea actions are legitimate, by the way, and I guess he didn't call it Chinese privilege. Why hasn't Obama called China's building land islands in the middle of the ocean to put military equipment out there aggression, number one? And number two, why is he throwing Japan and the other Southeast Asian nations under the bus? Why isn't that Chinese privilege, what he's talking about? I mean, he says we have white privilege here. Isn't that Chinese privilege there? Listen to clip 11.
And the truth is that China is going to be successful.
Oh.
It's big. It's powerful.
Oh.
Its people are talented and they work hard. And
not like us. No.
And it may be that some of their claims are legitimate.
Do you believe this?
But they shouldn't just try to establish that based on throwing elbows and pushing people out of the way.
No, not like me.
If, in fact, their claims are legitimate, people will recognize them.
How is this man a president? How does he say these things? So now he's supporting China's actions, saying some of their claims are legitimate. And then he glorifies the Chinese people, said that the people are talented and they work hard. Not us, though. We are only filled with white privilege. Those of us who are talented and work hard. We suffer from white privilege. They don't suffer from Chinese privilege, though. He reserves that only for the country and the people that he hates the most. Can you believe what we have? All right, we'll go on. You don't care. Phone number here, by the way, if you want to call the show, is 855-407-282. Bill on WA. No, I don't want to take a call on white privilege. It's an invention. It's a construct of the communist left. Now, what's this about the telephone calls? I've assumed that they were listening in on me for a long time now. I told you, they just stop talking on the phone about anything. And you live in the dictatorship that Obama created. And if you have something important to say, you meet the person in a supermarket lot at midnight. And you walk around with your hand over your mouth with a toothpick, cleaning your teeth, and you mumble. That way nobody can even pick it up on a distant microphone. I learn a lot from movies. So I watch these movies, all these techniques. I learned never to talk on a personal phone about anything personal. We always used to use coin phones, but then they eliminated the coin phone, so what was left? Carrier pigeon or smoke signals, I guess. But I never liked pigeons because of psittacosis. So I never kept them. I had a friend, by the way, talking about pigeons. Even in Queens, I don't understand that whole thing with pigeon things and flying. And where'd that come from? Is that like the poor man's falcons or something? I was thinking about that. Where did the pigeon thing come from? In New York, it was a big thing when I was a kid. Usually in the slums, people kept pigeon coops. But I had a friend who came from a good family. He had a pigeon coop in his roof. I hated it. Every time I go up there, it stank of the guano and the feathers, the mites. I mean, years later, you learn that they're dirty things, those pigeons. They are flying rats. What's the big thrill about a pigeon coop and flying pigeons? I don't understand it. Does anyone out there know why the pigeon thing is... Do they still do this, Robert? Have you heard about pigeons and pigeon coop? Huh? Do the millennials keep pigeons and fly them around in pigeon coops? Most millennials belong in a pigeon coop. They have the brains of pigeons. Pigeons are smarter than most millennials, by the way. Somebody asked me a question. Why are millennials moving towards libertarianism? That's a simple answer. Because that's the poor man, the cheap way out of anything is to call yourself a libertarian. Like, what are you? Oh, I'm a libertarian. What does that mean? You think they really know? It means I want to do what I want, and I don't care what you want to do. That makes you a libertarian. That's just an easy answer to everything. Libertarian. Someone like the government jester Bill Maher could call himself a libertarian, but he's nothing but a government stooge. What do you mean libertarian? What does that mean? It means you want to do what you want to do, and there should be no morality, no rules, no laws. That's a libertarian to most people. They don't even know what it means. I'm not a libertarian. I'm a nationalist. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUYCOIN. By the way, those of you who have listened to the show since '94, you know I haven't changed my message. I have been fighting this fight for the 21 years I'm in radio, and I've lost. I admit it. I know the battle's not over, but I am not going to stop. I will keep going. I will keep telling you like it is. I'll tell you like it is because it is the way it is. I don't care how many Obamas they create in a factory. I don't care what power Geffen and Katzenberg have. They probably look upon me as a bug that they'd like to crush. I can guarantee you, as I sit here, that a lot of my message reaches them in Hollywood. People record it and play it for them, and they go berserk. Because they're used to crushing people in Hollywood. Anyone who doesn't cater to Geffen gets crushed. They get thrown out of the business. They don't work another second. So you must sit there and go nuts and say, how do we shut that savage up? How do we get him off the air? What do I do to shut him up? He thinks the whole world is Hollywood. He thinks because he put a marionette in the White House that he controls the world. But guess what? He doesn't control me, and he doesn't control my mind. I will keep exposing these people for who they are, what they've done to this country, and what they just might do again if they elect Hillary Clinton. Because they're not through yet with their agenda. They've only just gotten started. There's no such thing as enough money for a very, very sick person. There's no such thing as enough power for a power-mad person. None whatsoever. They've gotten almost a total control over everything in the United States of America. But they don't have control over our minds yet. They thought they did with the imagery coming out of Hollywood, with the control of ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, and CNN. They thought they had control over the news that was going out. They're obsessed, though, with anything that's said about them. I happen to know that for a fact. I'm not going to tell you how I know it. Geffen, Katzenberg, Hatzenberg, Matzenberg, Ratzenberg, Spielberg are obsessed with any negative statements about themselves. Just as Obama has thousands of people on his payroll to control his image, just as Hitler did. Sorry to make the analogy, it's just the way it works. Image control. Anybody who criticizes them is immediately smeared, or they're not heard from at all, or they're eliminated. That's how it works in a dictatorship. The czars of Hollywood are no different. They run on the same exact principles. They conduct some of the dirtiest work on the planet, and they get away with it because they control what goes out about them, and you don't know what they do. You have no idea what kind of people they really are. You have no idea what their vendetta is against this nation. You have no idea how much they hate Christians in the church. You have no idea. If you had any idea, you'd cause a revolution in this country. You wouldn't put up with it for another second. I'm going to go to a caller right now. Patrick, KFAY Radio, welcome to the show. Fire away. You're on the air with Michael Savage and millions of others. What's on your mind?
Hi, I'm one of those libertarian young conservatives that you were talking about, and I kind of feel like you're giving us a bad rap because we are free thinkers.
But what is a libertarian? Define what libertarian means to you.
To me, we believe that people know what's best for them financially and socially. And
Really? And you think that's enough to make a citizen? To know what's best for yourself?
well, yes, you can't have a good democracy without people knowing.
Really? What about doing something for the nation other than for your own selfish goals?
Why are you presuming that I'm selfish?
Well, you are selfish. You just said to me you're a libertarian because you know what's best for you. But what are you doing for the nation?
What's best for me is best for the nation.
Oh, really? In other words, you are the nation.
Yes, absolutely.
See, this is the limitation of your thinking. John F. Kennedy said it best when he said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And that's what's missing in your generation, is that you have no idea of service to a nation because you don't even know what a nation is. You have not even defined what America is. What is America to you?
America is currently very corrupt, but it used to be still corrupt,
But how would you define any nation? What would a nation be defined by? Would you say my definition of borders, language, and culture is still valid?
yes.
It is. For any nation on earth except America, borders, language, and culture define a nation. For every nation on earth except the nation that was destroyed by the most evil, divisive man in the history of America, Barack Obama. But my point, my friend, and it's not to make you uncomfortable, is to start you thinking about what it means to be an American, what it means to be a libertarian, and that means service to this nation. I don't mean necessarily joining the military, but there are many things that all of the bright millennials could be doing for this nation, but they've never been taught to give anything back to this nation. They've been taught to think only about their own selfish desires and wants. Sending you a free copy of Countdown to Mecca for your father. This is the Savage Nation. Be here or be nowhere. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
So what we're going through in America is something unique to America. It's not unique to the world. Other countries have died. It's just that we're dying, and many of us feel it, where everything is upside down and backwards. White privilege, of course, is an invention of the Marxist left to take some of the most creative, productive people in the society and make them ashamed of their productivity, and to take people who are, let us say, not quite as productive and make them feel that they're victims. So if they want to punch a teacher in the face, run through a hall, knock someone off a chair, that's fine. It's just their cultural prerogative. How do you cope with the liberal meltdown of all of our values? I know some extremely successful people who began with nothing. They began with nothing, zero inheritance, no white privilege, and through brains and guts, they made themselves into extremely wealthy, successful individuals. And these few people that I know who have built their lives like this are now sick to their stomachs as they see this divisive weasel in the White House and what he is doing to America, burning down the city of Baltimore. Half the city was burnt to the ground because of the vile filth that came out of his mouth against white police. The police will not work in Baltimore right now. And the very same ghetto dwellers who hated the police are now saying the police are not there for them. That's what's going on in America. Wherever you turn, you see a country that's having a heart attack because of this man. Now he has the nerve to say one of my core principles is to never divide people. So let me go back to that issue. How do you cope with it? I see people who say to me, he's infecting the country in every way he can with an incurable disease. Why are they bringing Syrian refugees to all white communities in Idaho, for example? Why would they do this? It's like bringing a cancer to a Christian community. Did you hear what I said? Send it to Media Matters. Send it to George Soros personally. I'll say it again. Why would the evil devils in the State Department take Syrian refugees, not Christian refugees, mind you, but Muslim Syrian refugees who have not been vetted? Some of them could be Al-Qaeda or Al-Nusra, and bring them to an all-white Christian cohesive community in North Dakota or wherever they're bringing them, other than to fracture that community? Why would they inject the equivalent of a virus into such a community? Because they will not stop until the country is totally broken in every corner of the land. Now you say, well, wait a minute. I know you're right, Michael, but what can I do about it? I feel paralyzed. You know that the Republicans were elected to stop this. you know that liar, that gullet liar, that liar